This week on VHS Boys, we're reviewing a true classic of the 1980s, The Terminator, which is a film so conceptually strong it still feels somewhat relevant in 2024 as AI is becoming a thing that people are actually
worried about.
Yeah,
it's coming for us.
Yeah.
It's coming to step on our skulls and just crush them into the ground.
Yeah. For a long time, I think this movie has kind of been overshadowed by its sequel, T2.
Sure.
And T2 is great, but the original Terminator holds up exceptionally well for a low-budget movie from 1984.
Oh, certainly.
I think the weak link is like some of the acting and the character development scenes.
Sure.
But aside from that, there's a lot of like really strong filmmaking in this movie. And if you watch other low-budget movies from the 80s, they look like shit compared to the Terminator.
Sure.
It's like very well directed.
Is this James Cameron's breakout?
He did Piranha 2.
Prior to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Piranha 2 doesn't sound like it's going to be good. Not like the Terminator necessarily sounds like it's going to be good. But, there's no bar for Piranha 2 except Piranha. Yeah, sure.
No remorse, no pain, no fear. It will have only one purpose: to return to the present and prevent the future. This weapon will be called the Terminator.
I really enjoyed watching this again. It's a lot darker and more serious in tone than the sequel, which is a little more fun and self-aware.
Yeah, second one's like pretty action thriller. This one's more like suspense sci-fi.
It's more like a horror movie or
yeah,
a thriller, than a big Hollywood action thing.
Right. And actually, watching it this time, I really did appreciate that more about it.
I'm going to give this one 4 stars. I definitely recommend The Terminator.
I would give it a 4 out of 5. Solid storytelling, like you're saying, for the budget, you're invested.
2 men from the future appear in 1984. One man, Kyle Reese, played by Michael Biehn, and one cyborg, the title character of the film, the Terminator, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Both characters appear balls naked in the streets of LA, which in 1984 would have warranted some attention, but in 2024, this wouldn't seem at all out of the ordinary.
Yep. And in fact, the fact that the future takes place in 2029 and it's not really, so we're not so far off.
No, I get screamed at by naked guys who think it's 1984 just walking down the street going to Target.
Speaking of balls naked, Arnold Peen. You see it. I've seen VHS copies of this movie or whatever. I've probably seen it on TV. I don't think I've ever seen a Blu-ray copy until recently, and I don't know if I've seen Arnold Peen before.
You think just the resolution makes it show up?
Yeah. Not that it was small to begin with necessarily. You only see it swinging in the light for a second, but it is something that Terminator 3 on lacks. Terminator 1, you get a little Terminator Peen. Number 2, you get a little Terminator Peen.
I guess Skynet just throws a dick on them just for the hell of it, but I guess it makes sense because they have to be able to. They're supposed to infiltrate the humans, so they have to look. Like
you gotta have a real
humans. They gotta have a real dick. Yeah.
Do you think
if it just had like a Barbie, like no genital, flat surface where its genitals was, that would be a dead giveaway, right?
From the naked man punching through people.
Yeah.
You'd be like, wait, where's the dick and balls? You can't be real man. But no.
What are you insinuating? Were I saying a man can't have a vagina or?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you're a robot, you don't need genitalia.
It's just for show.
Right.
Unless they make it functional and the Terminators can, I don't know.
Maybe Liquid Metal Man can like strangle you out with like a lasso dick or something, from number 2. You can turn his dick into a skateboard and like shred some gnar.
Shred some gnar? Is that your best skateboarding term?
Yeah. Gnarly boop boop? I don't know.
Yeah. Radical.
It's terrible at skateboarding. My only skill is looking at Terminator dick. It's the only skill you need, really.
T-800 gets clothes from a group of 80s punk rockers, one who's played by Bill Paxton and another played by Brian Thompson from Cobra and Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
I was going to say that. I was like, oh my God.
And he also went on to make that like Expendables parody where he does the really bad Schwarzenegger impression.
69?
No, it was a metaphor.
Comes before Meta 5.
Are you compensating?
I imagine Brian Thompson's ill will towards Arnold goes back to nights like this when he had to play second fiddle to Schwarzenegger's bare ass.
And literally, like, one of the directions is he looks down at his dick for like a good 5-10 seconds. Like he like sizes him up and he just looks at his dick. It's like a close up of that actor and he's like looking down at Arnold's dick.
Well, Russ, not to stay in the gutter here, but that's also like a big thing in the Expendables parody they did. It's all about how Arnold Schwarzenegger has a small dick.
Oh, really?
He's overcompensating.
Oh.
I think our buddy Brian Thompson's just a bit not super happy with his career.
Not because he wasn't as successful as Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No.
Yeah, that checks out, though.
He was in things, but,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody really gives a fuck about Brian Thompson. Yeah, for some reason, Arnold's Austrian accent works. I don't really know why. It doesn't really make sense that Skynet would send a robot to L.A. with an Austrian accent, and he can change his voice at any time, so he can talk in any voice, but his default is the Austrian accent. Yeah. It works. Like, I don't know why. Sure.
Again,
I love it.
Kind of imposing, a little bit foreign. He seems like, otherworldly almost. He's just such a hulking, fuck you, asshole. All right, I'm not going to mess with that guy.
Like, they can make the skin and the eyes all perfect, but they can't get the vocal cords to like, talk normal.
Yeah. Robots, man. They just don't get it.
Yeah, well, he's technically not a robot, Russ. He is a cyborg.
He's a cyborg, right?
Which also, I think is kind of bullshit, because once all the human flesh burns off, it still works fine. It doesn't really need the human flesh at all. It's just a robot with skin on it.
He needed it to be transported through time.
That's kind of the big plot hole in Terminator.
Yeah, because Terminator 2, the guy's fucking liquid metal. He's not even like flesh at all. How did he get through time?
Well, the way they send the liquid metal Terminator back in time is they put it in somebody's ass.
Oh.
And they send that person back in time, and they take a big metallic liquid shit, and then it reconstitutes. Exactly. Yeah. Little hunk of corn in its helmet. Next, we're introduced to Sarah Connor, played by Linda Hamilton. I like Linda Hamilton in this role, even though I don't think her performance is very impressive from an acting standpoint. She has a naturally vulnerable quality, and she just feels like a real person.
Real person, definitely.
While Sarah's going about her day as a waitress, the T-800 holds up a gun store run by everyone's favorite working-class schlub, Dick Miller. Then the Terminator goes through the Los Angeles County phone book and starts systematically killing every woman named Sarah Connor. It's a great setup. This woman is completely vulnerable against this massive killing machine from the future.
Right. You are never safe from the Terminator. Until he's completely dismantled, you are not safe. That thing, it doesn't matter how many guns you have. It doesn't matter how many people you have in front of you as cannon fodder to catch the bullets for you. He is unstoppable. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, how far you drive, whatever, you're fucked.
Once the police recognize the pattern, they attempt to contact Sarah. Lance Henriksen calls Sarah's apartment, and Sarah's roommate is having sex with her boyfriend while simultaneously listening to music on her Walkman. So she doesn't get the call. And then after her boyfriend's spent, she goes into the kitchen and starts making a big goofy sandwich like she's Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Ties a big string. She shuffles bologna and white bread together, and that's
It's so cheesy and doesn't fit in the movie at all. And this is when the T-800 shows up and beats her boyfriend to death and shoots her. You can view the film entirely as a warning about technology just through the main conflict. The AI creates Cyborg, but there's a more subtle anti-technology message in the film as well. Every time Sarah attempts to communicate via phone, that ends up being a mistake. First, she lets the T-800 know she's at the nightclub by leaving the voicemail. Then she gives away her location later when she tries to call her mother. And even Sarah's roommate's Walkman, a seemingly mundane and harmless gadget, distracts her while her boyfriend is beaten to death, and because she's distracted, leaves herself completely vulnerable to the threat of the Terminator, i.e. technology gone wrong. If this scenario played out now, it would be much easier to track Sarah down simply by her smartphone, her Apple Watch,
just triangulate that shit,
her Samsung butt plug.
Yeah.
Sarah Connor spots Reese stalking her around town. He's literally wearing piss-soaked pants he stole off an old homeless man. I mean, I think the weirdest thing about the Terminator timeline is that John Connor sends his friend, or I guess his subordinate, back in time to impregnate his mother, therefore becoming his father, which is a pretty strange request. I'm going to need you to go travel back in time 40 years and make sure my mom gets some cum in her. And no condoms. I'm sending you back to the height of the AIDS scare, and you need to raw dog my mother in Los Angeles. I think it's more likely that Reese is lying and the Terminator is actually just future people's elaborate attempts to gaslight Sarah Connor into sleeping with them. This is what perverts do with time travel tech. They find dumb waitresses in the past, and one guy pretends to be a cyborg so the other guy can be the hero, swoop in, and coerce the naive pre-internet woman into having sex with them.
Wow.
They can't get away with that type of behavior in 2029 because of, the difference in culture. But in 1984, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And that was actually going to be the plot of the sequel, which was originally going to be called Me Too instead of T2.
Wow.
That's the best I got, Russ.
It's good.
You get it? Me Too?
Yeah.
And then I never understood why Sarah Connor goes to Mexico at the end. I guess Mexico is a safer place to be for the nuclear fallout for some reason.
Yeah, because LA's going to get hit by
LA's getting nuked.
Oh, man. LA's getting nuked as hell.
And I guess Skynet doesn't think it's important to nuke Mexico. There's less technology in Mexico, or maybe the Mexican-built T-800 isn't as intimidating as the Arnold model. The Mexican T-800 is only 5'4".
Okay, sure.
They call it the T-100. I'm going to be back. I'm going to come and kill you.
Make you have sex with a donkey. Maybe that's what she meant by fucker.
What? And then Sarah Connor stops at a gas station in Mexico as she's recording an audio tape for her unborn child. And at the gas station, she's approached by a small boy who takes a Polaroid of Sarah and tries to sell it to her for $5. And he tells her there's a storm coming.
And that his father's going to beat him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you don't remember that? If she doesn't buy the photo, he's going to get beat.
Senora, if you don't buy his picture, my dad is going to hit me.
And so
it's very sad, Rob.
It's super sad, I know. And she's like, that's a good angle, kid. And then she gives him like $5.
And then she drives off towards like a really shitty matte painting.
Yeah, there's a really bad matte painting at the end.
This movie, it goes to such great lengths to have good effects. And then just a dog shit matte painting at the end.
This last shot is just like...
I think the real hole in the Terminator's vision of the future is the fact that robotics isn't nearly as advanced as James Cameron thought it would be back in the 80s. It's 2024 and robots are still pretty limited to being big, heavy, expensive, and specialized pieces of equipment.
You see them doing front flips and whatnot, right, Gary?
The Boston Dynamics shit, it's all pre-choreographed. They can't even walk. Those things fucking fall over.
Well, yeah, sure. They trained them on the course.
You know, Boston Dynamics is like a complete bullshit vanity company. They don't make an actual product. It's all just like they do a robot show, and it's all fake.
Yeah. Still, you program one of those to come after me. Maybe you can trip me. You can trip it, and that'll be great. But I personally give this movie a lot of respect because it's anti-robot, and it probably set human-robot relations back decades, which is for the better. Sure.
People need to watch this movie before they start putting chips in their fucking brains and shit.
Yeah, man, don't put chips in your brains.
If the humans in this movie had a Neuralink chip, you wouldn't even need a nuclear war. You just
turn it off. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. We're gonna see what happens with AI. I think you're.
Yeah, we'll definitely see, Rose.
Yeah. We really will, and hopefully it doesn't destroy us all.
Skynet doesn't even have to nuke us; they could just send a bunch of fentanyl.
So you're tell me, China is essentially
China's Skynet.
Skynet, yeah.
I guess Skynet could come from a Chinese defense program as opposed to American defense program. Does it really matter?
Why not? No, yeah. Right?
Then they'll send back a Chinese Terminator. Russ, do your impression of the Chinese Terminator. Go.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I love you. 我去想念你，請你莫逃避，維護你，原諒你，拋開貪親怕死，一切為咗你。